Hunter Biden joining the first family on the White House balcony for the 4th of July fireworks show as Secret Service agents investigate suspected cocaine that was found in the West Wing. Mark Meredith, he joins us now from the White House. Mark.
Kaylee, Stephen, Griff, good morning to all three of you. President Biden and his family came back to the White House from Camp David to enjoy the 4th of July festivities last night. It was a picture-perfect night here in the nation's capital. But this morning, there are more questions about who's coming in and out of the White House after cocaine was found in the West Wing. Now, the president nor his staff talked about this last night during the celebration. Cameras spotted the first family, including the first lady and first son Hunter Biden, there in attendance. But it appears these drugs were discovered on Sunday while the president was away. They were found in a work area of the West Wing. The Secret Service put out a statement on Tuesday, a spokesperson writing, the D.C. Fire Department was called to evaluate and quickly determine the item to be non-hazardous. The item was sent for further evaluation, and an investigation into the cause and manner of how it entered the White House is pending. We'll continue to watch it. This morning, we're also watching more attention being focused on Hunter Biden and the federal investigation tied to him. Tomorrow is the deadline set by the Republican-controlled House Judiciary Committee for the U.S. Attorney in Delaware to answer questions of theirs about how the investigation into Hunter Biden was handled. The questions come after two whistleblowers came forward to claim that the investigation was not handled properly. The U.S. Attorney out in Delaware has denied any wrongdoing. He's also rejected these whistleblowers' claims, saying he had the ultimate authority in this case. But there's still going to be a lot of back and forth between the Justice Department and House Republicans about what was going on behind the scenes. And later this month, guys, Hunter Biden's going to be in court to formally accept that plea agreement, which means he won't be spending any time in jail for those tax fraud charges.
That's right.
Steve, Griffin, Kaylee, back to you guys.
Close enough. Mark, the folks don't understand, Griff and Kaylee and I understand, for you to be standing on the north lawn of the White House, you had to go through the Northwest Gate. And they've got all sorts of detectors there. And so it is extraordinary that somehow cocaine wound up in the White House, in the West Wing, apparently. And I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but in the history of the White House, has cocaine ever been discovered before by the Secret Service and made public?
That's a great question, Steve. I don't know of any past incidents of cocaine being found. Obviously, it would be not a huge surprise to imagine that over the years, all sorts of things have come in and out of these gates. But you're right, when it comes to the people that have to go through security, usually it's a metal detector screening, and they'll screen, and Kaylee would know this better, obviously you worked here. I mean, you would go through a screening on the traditional sense. You have to, take out your keys, your cell phone, stuff like that. But then they kind of go through, look for any of those hazardous materials. But in terms of whether or not it's in a bag or ever how it may have been transported, a pill bottle, I don't necessarily know if that would have triggered any alarms. And Kaylee, maybe you can speak to this. I mean, staff doesn't have to go through the same screening that we do as press when we come through the gates. So if you have more regular access, I would imagine you don't have to go through those same screening procedures, right?
Mark, thank you. I will say, as a West Wing staffer, you do go through a metal detector. You put your bag right there through a metal detector as well. They look, they x-ray, they see what's in the bag. It's extraordinary to think that this could have gotten into the West Wing, Steve, into a public place. Apparently, this is a place where tour guides can go through. We don't know exactly where it was in the West Wing, but having been there, worked there, it's a small place. Did a tourist bring it in? If so, that's troubling for national security, for the security of the President of the United States. Was it a staffer? If so, we got to get to the bottom of it. A staffer shouldn't be using cocaine or bringing it into the White House, but troubling nonetheless, a white powder in the West Wing.
Griff?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to be on White House duty for the early shift on Friday, so I'll report back to the show here and let you know if the security measures are increasing. Clearly, something got missed somewhere, and you can bet they're doing a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking, trying to figure out how a breach like this occurred in what should be the most secure building on planet Earth.
Right, but if you look at the internet and you look at social media, there are all sorts of memes and there are all sorts of rumors. Let's see who has access to the White House, who kind of looks like he's living at the White House. Oh yeah, Hunter Biden. There's nothing to see. That's just going on the internet. But you know that because I'm sure everybody has sent that stuff to you. Now, Hunter's been in the news a lot because it was revealed just in the last week or 10 days that he is going to cop a plea, essentially. He's going to plead guilty to a couple of tax charges, and also there's that gun charge that is going to go away if he can keep clean for like 2 years. That's one of the provisions of it. Also, we have heard now from David Weiss, who's the U.S. Attorney for Delaware, and he essentially said, look, he sent a letter to Jim Jordan and essentially it said, look, I'm the guy, I could have brought charges in California or D.C. if I wanted to, but then he made it sound like he didn't want to, and he stands by what happened. Look, there's one other thing going on, and that is the fact that on July 26th, a federal judge is going to review this case in Delaware, and if the judge doesn't like the deal, the judge can reject it. And the big question, and I believe she was appointed by Donald Trump. So the big question is she going to look at all this other stuff going on with Hunter Biden and this new evidence about what may or may not have happened during the investigation, Kayleigh, and say, you know what? Hold on. I need to call some people in here and rule on this one way or another, but I got to hear some more stuff.
She should. That would be an extraordinary measure. We'll see if she actually does it. But there are real questions here. I mean, Steve, forever we had heard from Merrick Garland under oath repeatedly saying, I did not interfere in this investigation. We heard from the whistleblowers saying David Weiss, the Delaware attorney, could not charge in this matter. It was the U.S. attorneys who declined to bring charges in California and in D.C. My suspicion had always been, okay, Merrick Garland is saying he had ultimate authority, David Weiss. My suspicion was this layer of U.S. attorneys. They were the ones stopping David Weiss from doing this. But who was giving them orders? Did Merrick Garland speak to them? Did he not speak to them? Was there an understanding that these U.S. attorneys would decline to bring the charges? We've got to hear from them. We've heard from Weiss. We will hear from the whistleblowers and the others in the room. But we've got to hear from these U.S. attorneys. I'd call them into Congress.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.